Hello and welcome back to another out of spec detailing video. What are you laughing at?
I did this.
Oh, good. Hello and welcome back to another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Next to me here I have my friend Kyle Connor's Polestar 1. And actually if you pan the camera over there, we have another Polestar 1. These are extremely rare vehicles that were only produced for 3 years and about 1,500 total cars have been produced. And in today's video, we're gonna be going through a full build quality analysis, looking at the panel gaps, fit and finish, talk a lot about these cars because they are actually built in China. So welcome back and let's jump into it. Thanks for bringing this by, Mr. Connor.
Well, yeah, we had Michael's black Polestar 1 over here. Both of the same year, built about 8 or 9 months apart from each other.
Yep.
And I don't think we ever got the total tally of how many Polestar 1s came to the US, but I think it's less than whatever they said. And most of them, I'm pretty sure, are still in the Hertz fleet at like LAX, San Francisco, Austin. Yeah.
Which is hilarious because these are actually exceptionally rare for what they are. So I think a lot of people, first off, are not really going to understand what is a Polestar, let alone what is a Polestar 1. There's been a lot of people who've never heard about the 1.
Yeah, and you have to remember when this car launched, no one ever heard of Polestar.
Right.
And so everyone was like, this could have just been a plug-in hybrid Volvo. And that's essentially what it is. It was designed to be a Volvo early on, and it uses a combustion engine up front, turbocharged and supercharged 2-liter. So it's like an XC90 engine, but turned up to 11, carbon intake, more aggressive tune. And then in the rear, there's a just over 30 kilowatt hour battery pack with 2 individual electric motors. There's also an electric motor on the output shaft of the combustion engine. So there's 3 electric motors, turbocharging and supercharging, AC and DC fast charging. And so it's just got, check all powertrain options except hydrogen, and it's right in there. So it's a super complicated, super wild, it was sort of the Swedish supercar that's not Koenigsegg, because these were not cheap. These are 150,000 base and then went up through there, mostly for a paint and wheel options that you could spec. And they're just so cool and yeah, super rare. The entire early cars that came to the US, the reason they all went to Hertz was, if you remember, Hertz bought like thousands of Polestar 2s.
Yep.
And sort of like thrown in the deal were all the Polestar 1 pre-production cars or pre-series cars that were never going to get sold. So they were the press cars that we made videos with early on. Imagine that, a Polestar 1 going from press usage to rental car usage. And I still see them running, like I baby my car, but I'm like, it's probably fine if I still see them rolling around LA.
Seriously, I mean, the complexity underneath this is pretty wild. I mean, just going through like some of the specs on this are crazy, but not to mention, this is a full carbon fiber bodied car, which is insane.
Yeah, the entire thing is carbon. I don't think the bumpers are.
Right.
Pretty sure those are plastic, but the hood's carbon, the doors are carbon, the entire chassis is like somewhat aluminum, somewhat carbon. It is built on SPA, Scalable Product Architecture, so it's XC90 underneath, but like with the craziest supporting components. So Öhlins suspension, Akebono, front brakes, 6-piston up front, monoblocks, which are awesome. And it's really, it is a performer in a sense, but it's got some weird limitations and like it doesn't drive perfectly, but that's kind of what I like about them is just, very weird car, very beautiful car. Some of the body creases could only have been done. I spoke to one of the designers once. Some of the body creases like this line here could only have been done with carbon apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there was no way to bend aluminum into whatever shape this is. I don't know why, but that was them showing off their carbon tech. And, final series production, everything was done in Chengdu in China.
Right. So these are fully, I've heard us throw around the topic of these being hand built. Are they like really hand built like you would think like they do in Britain with some of those, very thrown together cars, or are they like more series production type?
From what I could tell, it was one jig, one car pushed around a factory.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly, and I definitely could dig into it more, and we know the people to ask, but I have a book that came with my car that shows some of the production process, and it's basically like it's on a cart that gets pushed from one station to the next. Super low volume production.
Right.
And Yeah, this one was the CEO of Polestar's car.
This is a really cool story of why you got this car.
Right. This was originally spec'd and built by Gregor, who's no longer the CEO, but was the CEO of Polestar North America or Polestar US for our local market. We asked to borrow this a few years ago for a video, and actually Alyssa behind the camera drove it across the country for a Cannonball. And it's not really a crazy record, but it does hold the plug-in hybrid Cannonball record.
Which is so cool.
Yes. Not that, it's any different than a gas car because we barely charged it. But,
right.
It is cool that this was that. And Polestar loaned it to us because after it went from Gregor's position, they sold off all the media fleet to Hertz. And this was the last one. This was in their museum, the heritage car.
So crazy.
And they let us borrow it, which was crazy of them. So super cool. Shout out to JP at the time. He's since moved on from Polestar, but that's how that all happened. And then we were like, hey, can we keep it for a little bit, for a few months? And they're like, yeah, sure. It's like no one, it's not, no one's reviewing it anymore.
Right.
So they let me have it for a few months, and then I was like, I'm not giving it back. And we bought it. So I'm the first owner of the car, but we got it with about 4,000 or 5,000 miles on it. I think I ran it up to about 10 or 12,000 miles while it was in Polestar's ownership.
Dang.
And I used that as my negotiation tactic. I'm like, car's got 12,000 miles.
Sure. Yeah.
Even though we put most of them on there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So your experience so far, obviously it's a complicated car, some concerns and some weird awkwardness with like, it says, your fuel has aged and then it wants to run the combustion engine, but you're wanting to drive it in electric only. There's some weirdness with that, but how's like exterior fit and finish, interior fit and finish been? Is it rattle like crazy or is it just perfect?
No, the interior is very rattly. I have issues with door seals. I have issues with creakiness, like sort of where the glass roof mounts. And
okay.
You can definitely tell that everything is so stiff that when it does kind of give, especially when it's really cold outside and things have shrunk, you just hear noises going around.
Okay.
And it's definitely not a dead quiet experience. There's no annoying rattles per se, but yeah, definitely like fit and finish stuff when you get the car like on a bumpy road and there's lots of undulations. I can hear the roof kind of creaking. And I brought it to Polestar and they're like, yeah, we're not tearing this whole car apart.
You don't want to start tearing roofs and things out of this.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to induce more noises by trying to track these down. I'm like, honestly, it's pretty livable. It's a special car.
Yep.
This one I think will stick around for a really long time. And it has. I've had it for a few years already. So yep, just kind of don't worry about it. Turn up the music.
It's got a crazy stereo system in this too. It sounds incredible. So
yeah, it's basically got the XC90 Bowers & Wilkins smushed into this little tiny car, and it sounds great. I mean, I still think XC90 sounds a bit better, but it sounds
more space.
Huge subwoofer in this thing that just is awesome. And yeah, love it. It's a great grand touring car, except for the fact that you're always worrying about the powertrain.
Right.
Because it's like, there's no way to set a charge limit on the battery. So you have to like charge it just enough. They recommend 25% for long-term storage, which is what I normally leave this at. Yep. And so you have to like time it, plug it in and unplug, which is what we're doing with Michael's car right now.
Yep, exactly.
But in terms of fit and finish in the body, it's a really cool material. The paint option on this one is, I think 10 grand. This was 165 sticker. And so this is a matte satin-ish finish. Michael's is just a black metallic.
Really cool looking metallic on this. Just a quick comparison between the cars. The paint finish on yours seems substantially higher quality in the matte finish compared to this. And the only reason I say that is because you see, actually kind of like F40s do, you can actually see the carbon weave underneath it. So,
which is really cool.
I think that's sick.
Visually, I actually think, well, I think they both look great, but I think Michael's car looks awesome, blacked out, it's murdered out. I just really love the light color interior that I have in this. And I certainly love the satin white as well. I'm very pleased with my spec. The one thing that I don't totally love are the diamond wheels. I know you like them.
I think they look different. I do like Michael's, definitely. You had some issues with your satin ones, which is why.
It went in for service and they curbed all my wheels. And when I bought the car, it actually came with an extra set of wheels from Polestar.
Which is cool.
We actually got to raid the entire press, like leftover parts bin. Okay. So because this was the last one. And so what they were going to do is they had a parts bin in LA or wherever, Santa Barbara, with all of the Polestar 1 like spare wheels and tires and tools. And they're like, well, you got the last one. We're just going to throw all this stuff away. I'm like, what? So I rolled up with a trailer and it's all in the storage unit.
I did not even know that, actually.
Yeah, so
That's really
these
cool.
are the extra set of wheels from some press car. And they all are slightly damaged in their own way, which is, you know, press cars have to be perfect.
Right.
So this is my auxiliary set while they're refinishing my original set.
Perfect. Fair enough. Well, what do you say we get into a little bit of fit and finish? I don't want to make this a crazy long video because I know there are some weird folks like us who really enjoy and appreciate these cars, but you're really never going to see them. Like, there's only one of these in Colorado, now two, and I think maybe one sitting at the dealership still.
I think that one's gone now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but it's gone out of state.
Yeah.
I did randomly see one in Fort Collins a couple weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, it was a gray one, and it had California plates, so I'm assuming it was a rental.
Drove it out here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great car to do that with. So,
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
I did see one, and I was like, no way, because as far as I knew, we were the only one or two in the whole state.
That's insane. These cars, I mean, the road presence of these when I'm driving behind you in this thing, it looks crazy. Kind of reminds me of like a GTA car that you kind of know what it is, but it kind of looks like something else and you've never really seen it before. They're really special.
They expected no one to know what it was because they actually told everyone with this little sticker.
Right.
Which I'm sure once it yellows a bit, I'll pull that off. But,
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing is like the logos over here, they actually match it with the color of the car, which is very unique how Polestar does this. So you have a white emblem. Michael actually has a black emblem.
Didn't even think about that.
I think that's really cool. So if you get like a gray one, this would actually be matte gray.
I wonder if they paint it off the car. They must.
They have to.
Yeah, because if you pull that up, you don't want just bare metal.
Yeah,
or
they
bare
definitely
carbon.
put that on after the fact, but super cool. So I think we'll mainly focus on Michael's car because his is a little bit fresher. This has 600 or 700 miles on it.
Right, and his is a 2021, built in December of 2020.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever seen a 2022. I think 21 was the last year.
Yep. So production run was from 19 to 21.
Okay, but were they only 20s or 21 model year?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the weird thing with production. And like you said, it sounds like the year these cars were both built. Well, this one was in 20, that one was 21, but it didn't sound like they actually finished the run of these cars.
Yeah, maybe they definitely weren't selling.
Right.
And because no one knew what they were. It's a $160,000 Volvo. Which is really dumb, with no service network because you have to get it serviced at a Polestar dealer. When these came out, it was the worst idea.
But don't you also have to go through a Volvo dealership to get it serviced by Polestar?
As far as I'm aware, only Volvo dealers were offered the Polestar franchise.
Okay.
And so any Polestar store was also in collaboration with the Volvo store.
It's crazy.
And that was the only way to get it serviced. I couldn't just bring that to a normal Volvo store.
Okay.
They won't work on it. Like there's a US legality issue dealer thing. In other markets, yes, Volvo dealers did service these.
Wow, pretty crazy. So I think let's just quickly run through the exterior of this, look at the fit and finish, and yeah, I'll definitely want some of your impressions throughout, but they're such special cars and why I really wanted to have them on the channel. I mean, first off, the hood here is massive, huge, massive clamshell. Again, all made out of carbon. I don't know if Alyssa can pick it up in the lights here, but you can definitely tell it's got a lot of orange peel texture, but it's very consistent. And if you look at it right, you can actually start to see the carbon weave in it, which is just one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah, definitely picking up on the carbon weave from where I am. It's super cool. So that's that. I didn't know. I don't think you can do that with mine.
No, yours definitely seems like it has more paint on it. And the kind of tricky and challenging thing when I'm doing my paint correction polishing on this car, I literally have no reference guide because I can't measure the thickness of the paint. So I'm going to have to be very gentle with these cars to make sure that, you know, we're not burning paint, causing more issues down the road.
Now, is there a way to gauge paint thickness on carbon? There's like really expensive meters, right?
Yeah, they are $4,000 or $5,000 machines. You kind of actually have to put, basically like they're doing an ultrasound on cars paint. You have to put the gel on there, stick it on there. There are ways to measure it. There's been some controversy if they're actually legit measurements because you don't have anything to really bounce it off of. That's what you're measuring when you're measuring paint, is that metal sends a signal down to the metal back and measures that distance throughout. So let's look through here. I do have my little meter over here, and we're going to be checking for, you know, panel gaps, see how this thing is. My impression so far with both these cars, they're actually impressively well built. I think you're going to see some like tolerances a little far out, but for being hand built, small volume production, I think it's actually pretty cool. So what I normally like to see on cars is about 4mm gaps. That's what Singer uses. That's what I've been saying should be like, okay, for open shuts should be right around there. So let's just take a measurement over here. This one's a little bit larger, about 6mm there, down the door, 4.5. So can already see some of those areas not perfectly aligned. Looking at it, it looks fine.
But the way the hood opens is very awkward on these.
Yeah, do you want to open it up?
Yeah. Do you have the key for this one?
Yeah, I think it's
It's almost like this little double hinge where the door, the hood needs some room. Not that I'm defending it. I also hate that every time you unlock it, it stops it from charging, which this one's actually charged to the perfect amount.
Do these have the weird Volvo latches that are on the side? I don't remember.
But they're a little bit closer inwards, so it's right here, basically.
Wow. Oh, that is a wild hinge on that.
Very odd hinge because it has to come up and away. So and it's basically touching on this side.
Is it really?
They really go right to the maximum.
Yeah, we got quite a big gap over here, I would say, for where that sits. Man, that is close.
Yeah, you can see the whole carbon here underneath.
So cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can definitely, in some areas where they didn't quite paint it here, like right on the edge, you can see it. That is really cool.
Yep.
Dang. I mean, carbon intake in here. This is cool. You have dampening control, of course, from the Öhlins. I mean, that stuff is just so unique how Polestar does this. And the cool thing is they've actually done quite a bit of this stuff and taken it over to the Polestar 2, which is really just like a Model 3 competitor, if you will.
Yep, totally. It's just kind of a Model 3, but almost worse in every category, but also kind of cool. Yep. I'm a big Polestar 2 fan. I just want faster charging, more range.
Yep.
And maybe even a little bit more spicy performance, if you will. You can go totally BST, agree. But you can't like fully defeat traction control.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool, massive hood, all one-piece carbon. Don't even want to know what it costs to try and close this one.
These have soft close on them?
They don't have soft close.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps on either side. I think that's now closed. It's sometimes one latch hits, but now we should be good.
Yeah, we were noticing that. I was washing your car earlier and I was just feeling this and it like doesn't really feel like that's totally latched in there.
Right, but it's how they are.
Okay, cool. So these headlights, are these out of a Volvo product, existing one here?
I'm pretty sure they're specific to Polestar 1. I mean, it's a similar design to others. But yep, I think it's a Polestar 1 specific part.
Cool. So looking at the front end here, honestly don't see much that's too out of alignment. I mean, again, we're not going to go super crazy, tear this entire car apart because nobody really cares about the Polestar, but it's a really, really cool car.
Yeah, but you've got multiple materials here. So you've got carbon, you've got thermoplastic, you've got a surround here as well with the inserts in the grille. So quite a bit of stuff going on here in terms of complexity.
Very much so.
Yeah, and it really, both my car and this car really look great. Now, my car, I would imagine, would be dialed in perfectly, I would think, because that was their show car.
Right.
But this one also was brand new that he just purchased. And that shows how almost undesirable these are in a sense.
Yeah, brand new, literally a couple months ago. We got this from Polestar Austin. Like even you come down here to the carbon and look how they've actually spent the time there to go in and actually perfectly line that up. Like that stuff you have to pay a lot of money to get on McLarens and stuff like that. So that is really exceptionally cool. Let's come over here to this side because one of the coolest things that I love about the Polestars are their mirrors. These are the coolest design I've seen. And this is also translated over to the Polestar 2. So if you come around this way, Alyssa, you actually have a completely frameless mirror. And instead of the mirror moving inside of the housing, the entire thing rotates. I don't think they're the best for visibility. Really?
So yeah, I don't think I realized that. So yeah, the housing rotates.
They're so cool.
Oh, that's neat.
So that's why when you fold them in, they don't really fold in all the way.
Yeah,
but yeah, the whole housing articulates on there, which cannot be cheap to say the least.
Wow, just even the making sure that they go back to the original position.
Right.
Must be interesting tuning on that. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's super cool. So even if you start up the car and start playing with them, the whole housing rotates and you're like, whoa, that's a really cool design there. One thing I don't like about these cars though are the door handles.
Yep.
They're a little fiddly.
I think they're just terrible.
Are they meant to auto present or not?
Yeah, when you click unlock on the key, which we can do, they do auto present. But occasionally when they always go back in. So they do auto present there. I'm going to just unplug it because it's charged up to the correct amount.
Yeah, really interesting design there. But then you're greeted with just an absolutely stunning interior. It is so nice looking in this car.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to the Volvo stuff. Again, this car was designed and engineered to be a Volvo, and it was very late in the development process that they decided to launch the Polestar brand. And they took this and they took what was supposed to be a XC40 C40 sedan, which is Polestar 2, and branded them. So now what we're seeing is Polestar 3 and Polestar 4 as the first models intended to really be Polestars.
Okay.
But again, I still think the Polestar brand makes no sense in our market. They should fold and Zeekr should take its place. That's my view.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Good thoughts there. So over here is actually where you fill it up with fuel, correct?
Yes, and it's a pressurized tank, so you have to depressurize it in order to open this.
Okay. So that's a normal Volvo thing, correct?
That's for pretty much any plug-in hybrid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it makes the fuel last longer when it's under pressure.
Interesting. Yeah, because I know a car like this, especially in your use case, how you use it, you're not using it every day. So the fuel will age. And it's interesting how it actually comes up on the dash and physically says that.
Yeah, it seems to be after like 6 months maybe on the tank, it starts to force you to burn the fuel off. And it means that every time you start the car, it runs the combustion engine. And so I had to go, drive the tank down, put new fuel in it, and then it went back to normal.
Fair enough. Yep. Fair enough there. So moving down the side here, just beautiful body lines on this. Being that it is a coupe, you definitely don't have a ton of space in the rear to say the least, but it's doable. I know the three of us have been in your Polestar. Alyssa sat back here, not very happily though. She's nodding her head no.
I think there's actually a limitation in the owner's manual. It says no one over 4.5 feet plus or minus are allowed to be in the back seat for, however it's classified. But I just want to bring your attention, Alyssa, to some of these plastic pieces here, the way the glass meets. It's pretty good, but it's not perfect, Colton.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And I don't know what it is, but with a car like this, I definitely, because I've been around some pretty, very special vehicles, some high-end, you get into supercars and things like that. Honestly, this is what you expect, which most people actually think it's kind of opposite. Like you spend up for a car, it should be perfect. And 9 times out of 10, it's like, no, they have this really hand-built quality feeling to them. You go to something like a McLaren, those things are terribly put together. Sure. I mean, you'll open the driver's side door and it's contacting a fender,
right? Which
is insane.
The back of it, whatever's going on back here, really nice on this one. I love the way the black looks. I think it hides some of the carbon, which I prefer. I'm not a carbon fan.
Right.
And so to me, this thing looks amazing blacked out.
Yeah, it looks incredible. And again, cool that you have the satin black Polestar badge. Yours is white. But then even down here, this little lip of carbon, they perfectly laid that up together, which is so cool.
Yeah, they really took the time on each individual component on the weave to make sure it's, I would say, almost perfect.
And this is just the coolest thing ever.
Love this. So first of all, you get a carbon brace up here, which I think is more just to show the material of the body in white. And then you come down to the electronic connections component, and you have, basically a viewing window that's backlit at night, which is really cool.
I didn't know it was backlit.
It's backlit, which is awesome. And it's the cars and coffee move.
Yes. Just that they went out of the way to do this, to put it behind there. You can see all the designs they've done on here. I mean, that is just like such a special little feature there that I think is one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have, basically all 3 battery pack connections, because the battery is split up in 3 different modules. Okay. And you have your AC and DC charge connectors, contactors, and yeah, it's really great to see all the connections. I'm sure this was not the optimal placement from an engineering standpoint, but for the viewing thing, I think it's so cool that they did that. And then just the quality that they went to for the carpets. All of the straps everywhere are leather. Every floor mat has this sort of leather character in it, which is really nice, where you have this, almost, cutout area, almost seemingly hand done, but I don't think it is.
Which goes even into the interior seats. Like even I don't even know what this is back here.
Yeah, so it's actually a clip that your charging case goes into.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so mine didn't come with it. Maybe Michael's didn't either, but I've always been trying to find one where they have the official, EVSE holder that snaps right into that.
That's really cool. I mean, even this little detail is so high quality that, yeah, I just love this. And again, having the exposed carbon there, it's so cool. It's so unique and so special. And then you have a little spoiler up here. Now you can actually, oh, I didn't know that had soft close there.
I didn't either.
You can actually put this up, correct? Or does it auto come up?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, so right in front of the mirror folding switches, you can raise this. Just electric actuators. I think it looks better down, but
I agree.
You can pop it up.
Yeah, I mean, like even looking back here at this trunk, it's like slightly off, but again, that's kind of what I expect from these cars. I'm really not expecting absolute perfection. But then on the other side, you go to cars like Singer. I understand they're in a huge price bracket difference there.
Yeah.
But they're hand building the cars, going through and checking all the tolerances, which are pretty darn interesting.
Yeah, I actually think while some of the gaps are bigger than probably most would like, I think they did probably take a lot of time end of line to make sure these were dialed in. The only reason I say that was we just did a video where we were in another Geely factory. This was built under Geely, overseeing Polestar and Volvo. And they do insane end of line quality checks based off of what I saw, more than any other factory I've been in for mass production. Yeah.
That's interesting because that's one thing, when you think about Chinese production, manufacturing, you never really think here, at least, of the highest quality.
Sure.
And now it seems like a lot of that's changing. You just spent some time in China, which I think is kind of cool that you got to be in, Geely factory around where this was produced. And my feeling is like they actually do care. They really do care. And a lot of the cars here, I don't think they really care in the States.
Yeah, the perception is China quality is crap, and I would say that was kind of my perception, and still maybe even is to some extent.
Okay.
But there's certainly a level that you get to in Chinese manufacturing where they really care, and they do take pride in kind of showing the world what they're capable of.
And we're not even talking about cars that are hundreds of thousands of dollars. These are normal cars that compete with Tesla, if not even cheaper than Tesla. And they're spending a lot of time with them.
Where I was, they built the 001, the Zeekr 001, the Polestar 4, so that type of vehicle. And they're just normal cars, but they took really great care to make sure they were correct.
Wow. Yeah, I agree.
A couple things that are annoying while we're here. First of all, you have to wait for the window to come down.
Yeah, it's not one of those that you're in a hurry to do.
You got to go slow with it, otherwise the window will get snagged. And because the door and everything else is carbon, it's a really loud shut.
Yeah, it's not the greatest. It almost kind of has like, I don't want to say tinny's not the right word, but it's just
hollow in the sense where it's loud and it hurts your ears. And actually, I drove the Mercedes CLE, which is another coupe. It's like a new one. We had it on test. We took it to the airport. Also, same problem. Massive door, almost like a reverberation or a twang when you close the door.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just, when you're inside and you close it too quick, it hurts.
Okay, really?
Yeah. Also, the whole car, because the whole thing is glass, there's a bit of an echo inside.
Oh,
so if you're talking to your passenger, you can kind of hear the sound waves bounce off the glass.
Is this one of those cars too? I remember I drove your car and I felt like the cell reception was bad because of some of the glass that it has in it. Have you noticed any of that?
It's possible. I don't drive mine enough to remember. Don't know. Yeah, but I know Taycans do that.
Exactly. That's why I was kind of curious and asking. The interior to me is awesome. One of the biggest negatives though, if we can show that driver's side seat, is just the creases in it. And that, I don't know if it's like a seat design, if it's just...
Yeah.
But your car has almost exactly the same thing going on.
It's this generation of Volvo seats, and this is the most bolstered version they ever did.
Okay.
Really, really screws over owners, I think. I think the material choice that they use, the design of the seat, the fact that, brand new cars have creases all over them, that, Alyssa, if you can come on into this bottom cushion here on the driver's side, this crease right here is the same one I have in mine, and that's supposedly normal. This car only has 900 miles on it. The whole bolsters are screwed up. So this car with 1,200 miles on it, just after another few months of driving, seat's going to be gone.
Yep, and they're using, of course, that door is really loud.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
They are using real leather here. It's not something like you're going to see in Polestar 2 that they're using recycled materials. It's just so high quality though, but it is annoying. That's one of the nuances with leather and why as a detailer, I often tell people like, hey, I actually really prefer Tesla seats, Rivian seats that are these synthetic materials.
Absolutely.
But again, even going back to, you know, the rear carpeting, you have the same stitching and this kind of punched out look, even there on the actual
floor mat. Yeah.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah, dirt really gets trapped in there. It's
Yeah.
kind of annoying, actually.
Need some
And you
all
want to
leather.
be careful, like rubbing the vacuum over this type of material because it is punched out leather, so you are seeing the hide
Exactly.
right through.
Yep, and you don't want to be throwing conditioner on this and getting it in the hide there either. It's just, yeah. I love these though, that Polestar does every single time. Such a nice touch.
A real problem with them is the seatbelt retractor spring or whatever is going on is not strong enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so especially on my driver's side, I've got to push it back in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So again, little things that you just don't, you know, this car you can tell skipped a couple years of development.
Sure.
Because once they probably decided to give it to Polestar, they're like, oh, we're not going to spend all the money anymore.
So you can do that and then move the seat up.
Right, which is the slowest,
Oh my
most
gosh.
annoying process.
And then you have to hop over the seat.
I'd like to say you don't really use the back seat. However, I've had probably 12 or 15 different occasions where people have been in the back seat of my car.
Yeah, I mean, it's use case, of course. That is crazy slow.
Yeah, it's worse than the Escalade IQ.
But I think if you think about this car kind of like a 911, it's like a 2+2. It's not really that you're meant to use it as a full rear seat, but you are going to, you know, occasionally throw people back there. You have to hold it.
I don't think you're supposed to have to hold it. You didn't going up.
It's the world's longest seat.
The only reason I wanted to do it as well is because it folds so far forwards, it crumples the side bolsters.
Yeah, don't love that.
Yeah, it's just that type of stuff is annoying, and Volvo and Polestar still get this so wrong with the seat material choice, where when Alyssa and I reviewed the Polestar 3, we had cars brand new and the seats were crumpled and squished, and I'm like, that's almost a reason why I wouldn't want to buy the car.
Yeah, sure.
And is a real determining factor. I hate creases on seats, and you shouldn't have a car that looks like it's got 200,000 miles when it's got 1,000 miles on it.
Yeah, and we saw this in your mom's Macan as well. You know, brand new car, leather seats in it, seats already starting to wrinkle. And that's just a natural thing that having real leather in a car, over time, it just breaks down.
Yeah, it's like a combination of real leather, not enough structural support in the seat structure because they're trying to give way when you get in and out. And also just the overall seat design that maybe visually looks nice, but is hard to live with. I think Rivian nails it. Tesla does a great job.
Right.
And just because we know there's better solutions out there, it drives me even more crazy that, you know, I just don't want to have to buy a car and worry about that. Now on something like a Polestar 1, that's fine. It's a specialty car. I'm driving it 5 times, 10 times a year, something like that. It's okay. But on a daily driver like a Polestar 3, that
you don't want to deal with that.
You don't want to deal with that. Yeah.
But Volvo's, or Polestar and Volvo, are also doing other really interesting materials like wool seats.
Yes.
Which for me, I'm like, that's going to be a freaking nightmare to clean.
But they're so nice.
You do like them.
I love them. Yeah, absolutely love
I can't wait to get a Polestar 3 in here with the wool seat
BMW
option.
also offers wool seats in the 7 Series.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
That's
a combination leather wool, but it's their top option.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding. Anything else on the interior wise that you would say, you know, quality wise, you like, don't like? A lot of piano black in there, which I think would be a pretty big negative. You have to clean it often. It's one of those kind of annoying things. Scratches up easy.
Yeah, so I guess a couple points that I can bring up is if you come on to that side, Alyssa, I can show you. The piano black kind of gets everywhere. My drive mode button, I think something must have spilled and it's essentially sticky forever now.
Ooh.
So that's kind of annoying and might require a whole module replacement. This whole structure up here in the roof is very creaky in my car. This is where it shines the Polestar logo through the glass, which is just a great touch. I love that. But that's a little bit creaky and annoying. Other than that, though, I think it's totally a cool car. I mean, there's not much that you can complain about because you do get a lot of modules that make up the whole car from Volvo. And those are tested and proven and have been in production for years. Sure. And so if something does break, it's actually not that big of a deal because you can just get it off an XC60 or whatever. And there's only those specialty components that honestly are pretty rare to find Polestar 1 specific items in this car. There's a couple interior trim bits, but in general, mostly everything is shared between the Volvo group.
So like even the whole dashboard would be something that would be relatively similar there?
Yeah, probably not, because that's the carbon dash. That's probably Polestar 1, but I'm thinking like volume knob or steering wheel or shifter or start button. You know, that stuff is not totally bespoke.
And the shifter's super cool in there as well, being that it's like this kind of, is it actual crystal?
Yeah, it's Swarovski crystal.
So cool. It's just a huge hunk
They claim,
of it.
I don't know. Yeah. But I think it is. I think they did a whole story from Volvo's side. But the inscription is with the Polestar logo. And this was the only one, so I'm surprised they ordered a batch with the Polestar logo engraved.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, I think it's a very cool, extremely unique, very rare vehicle. I don't think you're going for, that door is crazy. It's just insane. I don't think you're expecting perfection here, nor do I think they should deliver that. But I think it's like a tolerable amount of that, being that it is hand built and it is very special, low volume, very rare.
Yeah, I have no complaints with my car. If we just take a look, you can see some of the gaps, maybe even a little bit clearer on the white color.
Definitely.
And you know, the paint quality on my car is amazing. I love this. It was quite an expensive option, but I love this satin finish. Again, I would not want it on a daily driver, because even for the infrequent use that I use this car, it's getting chipped up. Like, I think I got it with this big chunk taken out of the side there. This one's new, this little scratch down here. And, you know, it's just a car, it's a driver. I didn't PPF it because, again, we bought it technically new, but used.
Yeah, because it had miles on it.
Had miles.
Previously went through a cannonball, which, if you don't know, is very hard on cars.
Right, and that was before we knew we were going to buy it. So we kind of were treating it like a press car.
Yeah.
Well, Alyssa was just driving it, but she was ripping it across the country.
I wasn't abusing it.
No, you weren't abusing it.
She was not abusing it, yeah. But yeah, your car, just looking at it, actually does look a lot tighter than Michael's over here, and I think that's probably the case of...
all the little roof structure. This was also built 9 months after his.
True.
So his is VIN 900 something, mine's 1123. So there was like 200 cars in between us.
Wow. So I really wonder when or how many they actually did. I don't know if there's any way to find out. I have searched and searched trying to figure out that.
So they say 1,500 cars, right?
Yeah, but then it sounds like they also didn't meet that. So they were expecting to do 500 cars a year.
Yeah, for 3 years.
But it sounds like that third year didn't get fully executed.
I got to ask around.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because even the ones that came to the U.S., I mean, they sat on lots.
Right.
No one, I mean, there's still, I'm sure, some new ones left that you can get. And honestly, I think the going rate for like a new one should be just around that 100,000 mark.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
So like 50-ish under sticker or so.
Yeah, I think that's the going rate. I mean, I paid 80 for mine with miles.
Yep. So your car, though, also, didn't they go through and replace the high voltage battery and some other components as well?
There was a recall on some of them where they had to do that. And actually, so I was told they did replace the high voltage battery. When I went in for my most recent service appointment, it sounds like they didn't.
Oh, interesting.
So it might be the original battery. I don't know. I don't know.
So take extra special care of it.
Yeah, I mean, Polestar, if you have one of these, Polestar recommends 25% for storage. So that's normally where I park my car, is 50% or below, not really below 25. And then, you know, I'll top it up to 100 when I'm using it. I mean, they are hybrid cells. They're designed to be cycled. It's okay for them to get whacked up and down.
Okay.
But if, you know, this thing sits for weeks and months sometimes, you have to put them on a 12-volt maintainer. Because they have, and I noticed Michael's car too, they have phantom drain.
Yep.
And I don't know where they come from, but it drains off the high voltage battery, of course, because it's running the DC to DC. Once the high voltage battery hits 0, it like doesn't stop. It just keeps going until it's at bottom brick.
Oh, wow.
And then it'll drain the 12 volt. Then the whole car is dead. That's what happened to this car. Thankfully, I think I caught it pretty quick, but my rear inverters would not wake back up. So I had to get trailered to the service center. The whole car needed a reset. And then it came back to life.
Wow.
So now I keep it on a tender, and then now that it's on a tender, it doesn't phantom drain the big battery. So there's just some 12-volt parasitic loss in all of these. You have to lock them. Otherwise, if they're unlocked, the sound system comes on sometimes.
Weird.
It's very, very weird electronics. And that's what, you know, you get into with these cars as they are not sorted. I think everyone just needs to know that it's a weird technological piece that I'm sure at some point in time, the skill set and the technology to work on them will go away.
Yeah, sure.
So this will either turn into a straight combustion car or a straight electric car, or none of it will work. I don't know.
It'll be really nice paperweight though, because
It's
they are
going to be
just gorgeous.
a beautiful design piece that this will stand the test of time. But maybe it'll get an LS swap at some point.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
So your experience so far, I would say, you know, talking with you off camera, you've been really pleased with this car. It's unique, it's special, and it fits this cool little niche that you have in your garage. You know, I know you're wanting some manual cars and things like that, but this is a really fun car to take up to the mountains for a weekend, come back. You're not daily driving it though.
Yeah, no, I don't daily drive it, only because my biggest concern is the seat wear.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I would drive it more if I wasn't so concerned about my side bolsters.
Wow. Yeah. Kyle has a special way how he gets in. He's like, you got to put your hand here and get your butt over the bolster.
Up and over. Yeah.
It's kind of like a Porsche GT car with the 918 style buckets in there.
And they sell covers for those.
Exactly.
Someone needs to sell a cover for this, or I just need to source an extra driver's seat, and then we can just destroy this one, not worry about it. And, you know, in 10 years, I can swap in the fresh one.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, my expectations were pretty much exactly what I thought with the cars. You know, you're going to have a few creaks, some rattles here and there inside, being that they are low production, low volume, hand-built. And exterior-wise, I mean, I wouldn't say that I would be disappointed at all with one of these cars if I got them. I'm not, again, I think most people expect you pay a lot of money and get perfection. And my experience as a detailer, like when I start working on, you know, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens, like the amount of paint work that they need from factory is 10 times what, you know, even like a Polestar 2 would be. So that's my feelings with it. Any other thoughts, Kyle?
No, they're cool, unique cars for a cool, unique set of people, I think. You know, I know a lot of Polestar 1 owners because, you know, as an owner and someone who makes videos about this car, you know, that's really it. I think Chris Harris had one and I had one, and there was no other like YouTubers who had them as far as I'm aware. And, you know, so, you know, of course, Michael bought his car because of our videos, and a few other, actually, a friend of ours bought the press car that I reviewed, one of the ones that was sellable.
Oh, really?
And he found my GoPro under the passenger seat that I'd been looking for. And this was like years after I did the drive.
No way.
Yeah, and he mailed it back to us. We just got it back recently.
That's insane.
Yep.
Well, we know these things actually do boogie, so you're probably throwing it around a mountain road for sure.
Oh, yeah. It was like one of the final send-off drives, and I was blasting down a California canyon, and the GoPro went flying. I guess I forgot about it. And he said his passenger seat wouldn't move, so he took it to the dealer, and they're like, there's a GoPro badged out of spec.
I wonder if does it still have your footage on it?
It probably does. Yeah, I didn't pull the card, but I'm sure it does.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the build quality review of the Polestar 1. Really cool. Really special to have two of them in here at once. I mean, yeah, you just never see these cars other than getting to see Kyle's all the time.
Yeah, or Hertz. And I wonder when they'll retire those. I wonder if they'll just run them till they get crashed or like stop working. I would.
Well, it's so funny to me, like speaking of Hertz, and I kept thinking about this when, you know, I was talking in the video about, yeah, they have those there. Like Hertz has gone to the point of they want to get rid of the Teslas because they're expensive to maintain. I can't even imagine what these cars are like to maintain when you're talking about, you know, 4-cylinder, turbocharged, supercharged, 3 electric motors, battery pack. That's a lot.
Yeah, but they probably only have a fleet of 20 or 30 of these versus 20 or 30,000 Teslas.
Sure, of course.
And they have the exotic collection. So I think it's cool marketing for them. They can put it in the photos and whatever. And they do offer them. My dad was offered one, you know,
really?
as a no-charge upgrade when he went to LAX one time. So yeah, you can rent them, and would be fun to actually rent one and see how they're holding up.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's the big question mark in my mind is like, how the heck are these things surviving?
Yeah, well, I mean, supercar owners normally are not putting, you know, hundreds of thousands of miles. There are, of course, few edge cases out there of people who, like, they get a Lamborghini SVJ and they're road tripping the hell out of the thing. And it'd be cool to see what these cars held up like, you know, under rental, because rental cars arguably are worse than press cars. I mean, people do not care about rental cars at all.
Right. You have like all the aggression with no skill.
Pretty much. Cool. Well, I think we'll end it off there. Thanks so much for watching another out of spec detailing video. We'll see you in the next one soon. Bye-bye.